Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Noxie, aka the girl on site, and we are off on another work trip. And you know, the girl is always out and about. But instead of just taking you along on my trip this time, I thought, you know what, let me give some tips, some helpful advice about traveling for work, especially when it comes to your itinerary. Now, it's one thing to just, hop on a flight, go somewhere. Yes, I'm here, I'm traveling for work and stuff. But guys, a lot of planning goes into it. A lot of different people are involved as well. So there's a lot you need to take into consideration when it comes to planning a trip for work. So on our side and how things get done, and this is basically how it gets done at most companies, there are resources that do the travel bookings for you. And with that also comes the processing time for those trips. You don't just, I need to go somewhere and then tomorrow it's booked. You need to also get the travel approved as well, because you're not just going to be going all over the place for the company and no one knows why. There needs to be a reason, there needs to be, maybe it's part of your job and things like that. And with me, your girl, I'm out here going to site, going to visit all my projects in my various, locations. So that's the purpose for my trip. I mean, the last time I took you guys with me to a different region, the southern corridor of the Western Cape, that trip was literally for a meeting with our stakeholders. So literally flew across the country to attend one meeting, and that was that. So it all really depends, and that's part and parcel of planning your trip, planning your travel. With us, the important thing is getting that travel request done on time. Because, one moment you think, oh shoot, I forgot about my trip, and now you haven't planned it in time, and in South Africa how it is, guys, oh my word. Flights, one moment you think you know how much it costs to get to a certain place, but all of a sudden you didn't book on time and all the prices are like through the roof. And as much as it's not your money, it's not my money, I'm paying for this trip, but you also want to be thoughtful of the organization, not to be wasteful with expenditure and things like that. So that's number one, guys, just planning the trip on time to allow for, the regular approvals that need to take place. Your line manager probably has to sign off on it. You take it to the resources that do the actual booking. You do it through corporate travel, you get the bookings done, and then finally you get your itinerary, you get your flight plan, you get your accommodation, your car travel, so on and so forth. So I think that's number two now, knowing exactly what you need when you're going to travel. So with me, it's not always that I go somewhere and I stay overnight. I've often done like an in and out. I'll grab a morning flight, do my thing during the day, and then come back in the evening. Other times, it's a road trip, so there's different things that you need to advise. What is it that I need for this trip? So if it's just an in and out situation, that means you need a flight there and a flight back. But when you're there, how are you going to get around? Are you going to use Ubers and things like that, or are you going to drive? And of course, with my profession, having to go site to site, obviously the best way to do that is to just get your own vehicle, take yourself all over the place. So that travel request will require a flight in, a flight out, and travel while you're there. Instances where you are staying overnight, of course, you need the flight in, the flight out, the car, and then accommodation as well. So with all that being said, now you know exactly what you need to travel, what you'll be doing, and now you get to actually planning the trip itself. And now this is like the detailed itinerary. Right, guys? So in planning your detailed itinerary, right, it's not just you traveling, you're going to see people on the other side. Oh, and this is number 3, by the way, the actual detailed travel. So it's about letting people know on time as well. Listen, guys, I will be in town on this day. Can we meet at this time? I'll be coming through to site, whatever the case may be. Guys, I've forgotten that sometimes. I have forgotten that sometimes. You're rushing and you're busy with your day-to-day work, and you've got this trip, and then you remember to book the trip, which is great because that's step number 1, planning it in time, but you forgot to let people know that you were coming. And the worst part about that is flying across the country to get to the destination and no one's ready to see you, or no one's available to see you, and that's a huge, huge, huge problem, especially if the company is like spending money to get you there. So it's about letting people know that you are coming. And number two, coordinating with those same people. You know, they've got schedules too. You've got a schedule because now I'm coming through for a fixed amount of time. Meanwhile, you might be there doing your own other things with your day to day. So accommodating me and the fact that I will only have this amount of time to see you versus, you know, whoever that person is, and then acknowledging the fact that, you know what, our stakeholder from Johannesburg is coming through. Let's make sure that we can accommodate them. You know what I mean? So even with that, because you're doing multiple things, if you're going on a work trip like mine, where I'm going to see multiple different sites, say if I want to go to site A at 10 a.m., site B at 12, site C at 2, whatever the case may be, I started realizing that the in and out same day travel was just not working for me, guys. It is impossible to squeeze different locations, different people, different sites into such a small window, especially because there are other unknowns that need to be considered. And I would say that that's number 4. Bear in mind things beyond what you're there for. So you think I'm going to Cape Town to go and visit some projects and stuff, but then you didn't consider the fact that going to the Cape Town International Airport, the car rental is on the other side of the world, guys. Like, it's the most inconvenient, most ridiculous layout I've ever seen at an airport ever. You know, most airports, because you land, they make sure the car rental is nearby. But Cape Town International, you land, you must exit the terminal. When you exit the terminal, you need to pass all the shops and things, and then you get outside of the airport, and then you need to go underneath the main road, kind of like there's like a busy road and stuff going across, and there's even like parking, and you need to walk all the way under that, go up this ramp, and then you're at car rental. Like, imagine doing that, carrying luggage and stuff like that, guys. I'll still never forget when that happened after I had done surgery. You guys will remember that episode. When now here I am. I was telling you guys about my worst work travel experiences. But yeah, I had just underwent surgery and needed to get to car rental. Yes, I'm in a moon boot and stuff, but it's not as if I can walk a mile already. And there were no golf carts taking people, you know, through that whole thing and up the ramp. I had to walk myself and my fragile, newly operated ankle up this ramp. So annoying. So anyway, so it's things like that. Now you don't factor in the time that although my flight lands at 9:30, I must walk to the other side of the world to get to car rental. You get to car rental and there is a queue that you would never believe, guys. I don't know what has happened in recent months, but car rental these days, like back in the day, I think you'd get to car rental and maybe queue for like 15 minutes or something. These days, guys, on my trips, I'm standing in the queue like 40 minutes. It's insane. It takes forever to just get your hands on a vehicle. So now can you imagine, you planned your itinerary, you told everybody, okay, my first site visit is site number C, I'll be there at 10 o'clock. And yet you only landed at 9, you had to do this whole thing, you got to car rental at 10 to 10, and then you start queuing, and you only got to the front of the queue at 20 past, 10:30. You must still get the vehicle and drive to site, and the site is maybe another 20 minutes away. So do you see what I mean, where you have to really take into account all the other little things, travel time, queuing, food. I mean, have you eaten? You woke up at the crack of dawn to catch a flight. Have you had a bite to eat? You know, things like that. It might sound silly, but you really need to pay attention to those kinds of things, lest you find yourself running around in a different city, hungry, thirsty, late. So I think for me that is a very, very important one. And then number 5, I would say it's just maybe like a closing kind of statement, just to say, guys, know what you're there to do and take it seriously. I think a lot of people want to turn a work trip into a little holiday. Guys, don't try and go on holiday on the company's dime. You are there to do something. So take your job seriously, take yourself seriously, show up where you need to show up. Don't skip out on meetings when you've got stakeholders that are expecting you. I feel as if it's not a good representation of yourself nor the company that you work for if you're going to do shady things like that, you know, not pitch, or you're trying to dip out of meetings early because you want to go and do stuff in your private time and whatnot. I think for me, the only time I ever squeeze in some fun time is at the end of the day. You know, if I'm spending a night out of town and you're kind of like, cool, my day's over, it's after 5, like what am I gonna do until my next day when my itinerary starts all over for day 2? And then you can, squeeze in some time, catch some fresh air, maybe see a friend who lives in town. That's something, of course, that I also do sometimes. But yeah, it's just all about taking the trip itself seriously, making sure that you accomplish what you were there for before you even think of trying to have some fun. So obviously we're not robots. I'm not trying to crack the whip on you, tell you not to do anything while you're out of town. But I'm just saying that your priority is what your company sent you there for in the first place. So yeah, guys, I hope you valued this little bit of advice. I think over time, after making quite a few mistakes, like forgetting to tell people I'm coming, or just not realizing how long travel time and queuing time and things like that can really just mess up the plan that you had for your day. I've started to just learn just a few things when it comes to really planning a good itinerary that won't leave you tired, because that's also another thing, guys. If you don't plan your itinerary well enough, you're the one who pays the price. Now you're running around. Now you haven't had time to maybe have a bite. You're hungry, but you're prioritizing just getting to that meeting, getting to that place, whatever the case may be. By the time it's the end of the day, you're exhausted. And it takes its physical toll. And when you do this regularly, I'm sure a lot of professionals would know, when you travel regularly for work, this thing where you're always tired from the trip you just took for work, it just doesn't pay off in the long run. So I've just over time started to learn, oh yes, don't forget this, rather do that, rather plan it this way, rather do it that way, leave time for this, don't forget how long that takes. Right, guys, so I hope that this was helpful for you, and I hope that it makes it easier next time you're planning your trip for work out of town. And yeah, please hop into the comments if there's anything else you'd like to ask me, anything you'd like to know. But otherwise, I think I will call it a day here. Yeah, just please like, subscribe, share the content, guys, and of course, see you next time.